All right, everybody, ding, ding, ding. We are back at this once again. We are inside the ring, and we are here today with someone very, very just nuanced, someone that came across my radar via IG. Got a chance to check out his product, and it is something you may want to get your hands on. But before we continue, just to make things, get the formalities out the way, this is Troy Vaughn, also known as Trey Amazing, your favorite part-time stripper, part-time megachurch pastor, but full-time dating commentator. And I am here with brother Sky, who is the CEO and founder of Hedonism and Debauchery. Welcome to the ring, Sky.
Bing, 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 bing. Let's get ready to rumble.
That's what I'm talking about. That's big energy, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's how I like to start an interview. So, brother, let me just break it down. You got this card game, Hedonism and Debauchery, which the name alone would catch anyone's attention. Or maybe, well, I'm a freak. Maybe it just caught my attention, so that says a lot about me. But I think it's going to be something that anybody, you can't help but break your neck and be like, Hedonism and Debauchery, a card game, what's that? So for the people out there, before they actually get a chance to click on the link below and visit your website, tell them what is Hedonism and Debauchery and what inspired you to come up with this.
First off, I want to thank you for taking the time and the interest of wanting to interview me and talk to me. I'm very appreciative of your time and space, so thank you for even considering to have me on. Hedonism and Debauchery, like you said, I made the name to be as ear-catching and eye-catching as possible, also to be as educational as possible. Most people don't know what those words actually mean, so it's a way that it could pique people's interest and also give them a little bit of a nuanced education as far as, understanding that hedonism is the pursuit of pleasure in all aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. And debauchery is the pursuit of raunchy pleasure and desire, and could borderline or go into like sexual play or sexual deviance. So just on that premise, the game is here to help you like connect with all the things that you find pleasurable, as well as all the things that you find sexual and dirty or raunchy or fun. I made the game because I saw that there was this disparity in media. I work in television and media production full time. I'm also a professional photographer. I shot fine art nudes. I started shooting nudes in 2006. And there was this ongoing conversation with our bodies, right? Like, we're in Roe v. versus Wade now, but you think about like 15, 20 years ago, people didn't feel comfortable taking nudes. I mean, it's normal-ish now on Instagram, but that wasn't normal then. You felt like you had to be a Playboy bunny or Maxim magazine or D'Angelo in the video to be able to like be comfortable in your body or to feel sexy or to feel like you could do that. And there was this ultra taboo around it. So my goal, just as I worked on shows and as I worked with people, seeing that they didn't feel comfortable in their bodies, they didn't feel like they could be someone that could do that, they didn't know how to talk to their partners. All these things sort of like became this running conversation for me throughout my entire career. And I wanted to start making products that helped move this conversation along in a fun way, in a safe way, and made people feel like they could be themselves. You don't have to run away to Nicaragua or wherever you want to go to like have this experience you want. You could have that same kind of feeling at home with your friends, with your partners, with whoever. So that was a part of my motivation, and I have to give Sex Down South the credit for really giving me the push, because it was the first time I was at their conference that shout out to Tia Mosley and Marla, but especially Tia for sticking me on this panel.
Big shout out to Sex Down South.
Yeah, no,
I'll be in the building.
I literally wouldn't be in this space without the two of them. And I ended up on this panel, and at the time I was just a nude photographer, right? I was actually there, kind of be in the same capacity as you are, like to be media, make some content for them. And I end up on this panel for desire mapping, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, right? So there's Shayla Tumbling, which is, she's a therapist and advocate There was Marla Stewart on this panel, who's the co-owner of the conference. There was Jamie Grant, whose panel it was, talking about desire mapping, and there was another person, Aisha. I can't. Her last name is blanking on me, but she's an Asian and LGBTQ advocate. So I'm like on this panel, and I'm like literally just a swinging dick. Like I'm the guy. I'm literally just the man here that occasionally shoots nudes. And I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck am I here? I don't talk about this in my real life. My friends know that I'm saucy, but I don't talk about sex. I don't talk about sex like that. And just talking about my experiences with people, working with people, working with nudes, working with everyone from, I say from womb to tomb, babies to celebrities to everyone in between. Seeing that we all have these same sort of desires, seeing that we all felt uncomfortable, and we all want to look our best, feel our best, and express ourselves and feel safe doing it. And when I saw people gravitated towards that message, I realized that I could have a voice in this space. And then from there, it turned into rest of the weekend, I'm filming, I'm listening to sex educators say, hey, I need new materials or new things to help my clients. I'm hearing enthusiasts at the conference say, hey, I need new things to help broach this conversation. I want to tell my partner into this, but I have no idea how to tell him. I'm so embarrassed. And just like that moment, I said, that's what I'm doing. I got to make something to help this conversation, to make it fun. And, we went from there.
These conversations are certainly very much needed. They're essential. And these are conversations that they can be uncomfortable, but I mean, if you're with someone, especially when intimacy and sex comes into the picture, these are some conversations that they need to be addressed. So anyone, just right off the shelf, picking up your cards, hedonism and debauchery, can you give me some examples of some topics or questions that would come up in the deck? Absolutely.
So I always, I wish I could pop one open for you real quick. I mean, actually I will in a few.
Okay.
But I always say the two most important cards in our deck are our consent card and our stop pineapples card.
Okay.
First and foremost, I want to encourage enthusiastic consent and get people comfortable hearing the giving of rescinding and consent and normalizing it in a fun way, right? I say in our age range, 30 plus, we grew up with, stop, no, and don't. We grew up hearing like, you have to do this a certain way. We grew up on presumptions through music of, you know what time it is, you know what we're gonna do, you know what's up. And a lot of people don't, right? 42% of the population, when they go to college, which are typically women and marginalized people, are assaulted every year on campus. 42%. That means 84% of the population is at risk of either being assaulted or the assaulter, whether they intend to be or not, right? The divorce rate is 50%. Why? Because we don't know how to have real intimate conversations, right? So I wanted to re-educate people on how to have this conversation and how to do it safely and how to make it fun, without making anyone feel like they're wrong or feel like they're impotent or they don't know what to do. But giving that basic understanding of those things in a smooth, fun way, right? Then from there, the rest of the deck has all kind of prompts. Okay, so there's what I call scenarios with fill in the blanks, right? Where if you think like the back of the movie, there's this little caption that says, or the back of the box for the movie, there's this little caption that tells you what it's about, right? You fill in the person, place, and thing, and then tell what that fantasy situation would look like. So it immediately puts people in their desires. There are questions that could be for you or for someone else. So you pull a question, you think you might be asking it for somebody else, but it might be for you, you don't know. There are also what I call social challenges. You and I grew up on Truth or Dare, 7 Minutes of Heaven, you gotta do it, double dog dare, triple dog dare, there's no way out of it, right? A social challenge gives you the opportunity to opt in a way that makes you feel comfortable. So you can say, maybe I'm into this, but this isn't the right moment, or I want to do this a different way, can I do it like this? It gives you that space to have like a conversation versus like feeling like you just got to do whatever. I also added blank wild cards in the deck because if the game isn't wild enough for you, you've got 4 blank checks to ask for what you want, because you've already established that we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna consent to it, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 80 people. And I've had rooms of 80 people.
Kinky.
You know, we're all gonna agree on it and do it and have fun with the situation. So, I mean, everything from basic things like stripping and bondage, impact play. There are some things with role playing and age play. I mean, I really try to give a variety of styles of desire and kink and play to really give people that opportunity to get outside of their heads and get into the fun, you know.
But I think honestly, that's what intrigued me about the deck, because it really, like you said, I mean, these can be conversations that, depending on, you know, we're all different. We all come from different walks of life. Some of these topics can be extremely uncomfortable, you know, to have, even if with someone who's actually in an established relationship. They could be uncomfortable, you know, when you're talking about things like, you know, sex or BDSM or kink, fetish, or even just talking about nudity, you know. But I do feel like, I think this is a great opportunity to make something uncomfortable and make it, like you said, fun, make it enjoyable. It can be, you know, you're establishing trust. You are building pathways to consent, because again, I do feel like, okay, if you're in a relationship, or even, I'm sure married couples, you know, could benefit from this as well. You need to be on the same page in terms of being able to express how you feel, both, you know, what you're confident about and also where you're vulnerable. You need to know that you're with someone who can play a big role in understanding that. And so just some of the examples I saw, I was like, wow, okay, we're coming in hot with some of these questions and topics. But I thought I'm like, okay, that would be certainly a fun night. That's one of those fun nights with the significant other, spouse. Turn the phones off, don't have the phones on the table, and just concentrate on one another. And you can learn some things about the other person. So with this, what have been some of the challenges? I mean, because, you know, I think that this is an awesome idea, but we also have to keep in mind we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and we are in the Bible Belt. You know, we're around people who are conservative and feel like, you know, certain topics shouldn't be discussed, or should, you know, or you know, pushing the envelope. Have you encountered any, I guess, blowback or controversy?
There's so many different ways I could answer this question, if I'll be honest about it.
Be real, son.
I would say the first thing is as I developed the product virtually on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing when it comes to any small business, especially a product-based business, it's being able to get things made. You know, getting printing, getting manufacturing, that sort of thing is always going to be a part of the process that's difficult. So when it came to like actually talking about it once I got it made and like marketing it, you know, the first thing that, you know, people that I would say would be in my familiar group, you know, friends that you go party with and hang out with, the first thing they say is like, oh, go stand outside of the swingers club. And, you know, their thought process was so limiting as to what I could do and what my goal was with the product. You know, they felt like I was going into being like this sleazy Studio 54 back of the building, sell it out of my trench coat type attitude. And I was like, you know, I've been to parties with you. We spend half our time on this project, or after we get off work, chasing girls or chasing one of my girlfriends, chasing guys, you know, trying to get to the fun that you want to have. And then here I have made a product that helps you with that. And the first thing you do is become judgmental and put me in a box. So I mean, that was probably the first thing that I noticed when I really started to approach bringing the game to the public. The second part of that was actually as I started to grow and wanted to take it into spaces. When I'm thinking about retail, when I'm thinking about looking for people to help spread awareness and spread messages. I know the name of the game itself is already a little bit eye-popping. But
got that right.
Before they know anything about it, you know, the first thing that they I can feel every asshole in the room pucker and cringe when I say what my product is about. They have no idea how to respond. And I've been in rooms with City of Atlanta, CEOs of like Target and all kinds of different places. And this isn't like shading anyone, but when you say, "Hey, I'm in an adult card game and I help with conversations around consent, desire, and sexual play," it's like, standing next to the person who's selling hair care products or construction, it makes it it's memorable, but no one knows how to really approach you. So it's been like finding partners and finding people that are really wanting to help me spread awareness and spread the message, and help my business grow has been sort of a challenge. Like they're the active enthusiasts that jump right to it. Like they hear it and they're like, "Yo, I need it right now." But they're also the people that definitely like have their reservations and don't want to be associated with it because they have this presumption of what it's about. And I don't care where you are in your life. You can be 50 years old, 3 kids, 2 of them on their way to college. Like you and your wife or your partner are in a space where your life is probably very logistical, right? Reality. You're talking about when you're picking this up, when you got to go to work, when you got to do this, when you got to do that. Where's the intimacy in your life at that point? You're trying to find ways to spice it up at that point, right? This product is for as much for you as it is for the teenager who's trying to have their first sexual experiences. So when I try to break it down for people like that, some people are here for it to hear it, but a lot of times it falls on what I feel are deaf ears because they're just not ready for the messaging.
Well, the messages as well as the messenger. Like I mentioned earlier, this being the Bible Belt, you're going to have people who are going to, and it's inevitable, they're going to stereotype you, they're going to generalize, and you mention hedonism and debauchery, and you talk about what you do, all sorts of images are going to come up, and like you mentioned earlier, they're going to place you in a box. Not sure if you've already had this happen, or can you imagine? I can see this happening. You're going to have the people up front may say, "Look, that's not something I'm with." That's try to steer clear of it, but behind closed doors and in the closet, maybe some of your biggest benefactors are people who want to support it, but feel like maybe they can't because of the topic and for whatever reason, because their political affiliations or their church or their standing in the community. A lot of these things are topics that people don't want to express. I mean, I know I'm certainly in that space where I'm at the age where I don't give a fuck what people think about me, but some people still do. Have you encountered any instances where people behind closed doors maybe really want to support what you do, but out in the real world they have to kind of steer clear from it?
I'm sure I have. I've had the pleasure of working with the Russell Center of Innovation for entrepreneurs. And as an example, in that space, first off, they, I'm sure when I did my application, they were like not sure about me, but definitely as I showed up and did my due diligence and made my presence known, I think people became very aware of what I was about and what my mission is here. I think it's hard because when you're garnering relationships and you have to be aware of not just what your personal feelings are, but the feelings and inclinations of the relationships you're trying to build professionally, sometimes it can be difficult to, or not the right space to express yourself and what your true beliefs are, what your true desires are, because sometimes in order for you to help the many, you have to swallow your thoughts on the few. So, in that, I feel like I've been awarded a beautiful opportunity to be around a lot of other entrepreneurs who deal with the same issues. What I would say to that is you can be a benefactor behind closed doors. And what it comes down to is how active are you willing to be for the world that you want to make? Everyone loves to talk about, I want to make a better space for my kids. I want to make a better world for the next generation, all that type of shit. That causes you to make active decisions today. When we look at Roe v. Wade, when we look at racial disparity, when we look at gender disparities and social injustice in this country and abroad, like if we're not actively making a stance and taking a stand for these things, then your complicitness to not do anything, whether it's public or private, makes you a part of the problem, not a part of the solution.
Indeed. I agree.
You can support however you want to support. You want to give money, you want to pass the name along, like all those things help. All those things matter. Like I can't pretend like we all have to do it the same way. And that was my whole process. I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to be a coach. If I'm sitting down and I'm talking to you, I can give you a good word, but I didn't want to be that type of help to people. I don't have the capacity for it. What I do have the capacity for is to make products that can help move that conversation along. So that's what I did. If we sit here and look like we got to do it all the same way, we'll never get to the destination.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that. You know, you mentioned earlier you talked about divorce and the high rates of divorce. You know, over the years, people will, you know, they'll read articles and do research, and you know, one year it's infidelity is the number one cause of divorce, and next year, it's finances, and it kind of flip-flops. I'm of a different opinion. I've always stated that I think lack of communication is the number one reason couples get divorced. And what's trippy is, and I've seen this in real life, I've observed this, where you could be married to someone and not realizing how they're into certain things, into certain kinks, have certain fantasies and fetishes, but may not feel comfortable bringing it up. You know, even uncomfortable with the spouse, the person they're married to, took vows to. Some people just like, I don't know how to tell this person that I'm into this, or I want to participate in a three-way, I want to be spanked, or I want to be tied up. And I can appreciate card games like this because it makes, like I said earlier, it makes these uncomfortable conversations more, helps people feel more at ease, having these things, because again, I can't imagine, you really are, we're surrounded by people who are married who they want to do certain things with their spouse, just afraid to bring it up. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be stigmatized because, hey, I want to do this with my spouse, but what if she's not into it and then she's going to look at me different afterwards? So I feel like what you're doing is worthwhile. I think it's amazing, and you certainly have my support, and I hope you keep up the great work. But before we wrap this interview up, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to build on that thought process.
Build on, brother.
So what your list is typically the trifecta of how relationships struggle, right? Finance, communication, and infidelity is what you said. So first off, in this country, I'm gonna start with this country because I don't know enough about everywhere else in the world to speak about world problems. I'm going to start with here. We have a very romanticized ideal of what monogamy is. More people are married to the idea of monogamy than they are the actual partner they're with. Right? The thought of there's this one other person that's supposed to complete me, that's supposed to understand and know and do everything that makes me whatever is fucking preposterous. It's a Disney fairy tale.
You're in the deep south where people say this person was designed by God for me.
And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that there isn't someone that can be a compatible partner for you, but you have to be a whole person first, right? Starting with that. You have to be a whole person first, and you have to be able to understand and be aware of your likes, dislikes, flaws, and abilities, right? You have to be aware of this other person has those same things, right? And that you're not a complete person. The person you are today at 35 is not who you're going to be at 37, at 57, right? You have to continually evolve. You're not even upgrading. You're going to continue to grow and be different. Things are going to happen in your life that are going to make you adjust and change and like and dislike things differently. You don't like the same candy you liked when you were 4. You're not eating candy corn, right? You're eating whatever you're eating now.
Hey, no diss,
no diss in the candy corn.
Everybody, we got some candy corn eaters out there.
Yeah,
Halloween coming up.
No diss in the candy corn, but just in the thought process of you don't like the same foods you like. You don't like the same things. So as you grow and desire grows, desire changes, interests grow, like these things have to be continuously massaged and worked out and thought about, right? Then you want to talk about finance, right? Finance is the first pillar that's going to crack in a relationship, right? Doesn't matter how strong your relationship is. Sometimes when finances aren't going well, it's gonna be a make or breaker. It's gonna be the thing that sometimes changes how partners look at each other, no matter how much love is there,
True.
no matter how much time is there. So now that finances have gone bad, guess what goes out of the window? Communication and intimacy. Once communication and intimacy go out of the window, what happens? A person, for whatever reason, doesn't matter if they're trying their best or their hardest, and things just aren't working, or they just aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Now that they aren't in a space where they can receive love, because love is conditional to them providing or them doing certain things, now you feel inadequate, you feel unloved, you feel undesired, right? And now what do? You start seeking that validation in other places because you couldn't communicate where you were. You know what I'm saying? Now you're finding attention in other places. It could be your friends, it could be a new activity, it could be somebody at social media or somebody at work, right? Now you've opened this door where the communication isn't good, you're not having the affection from your partners, and the money's bad. So what the fuck do I have to lose at this point? And that's how you see relationships begin to tumble, right? So we have to really change how we're having conversation. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I've got a rough attitude. I have days when I can't talk and I need to process, and just like anybody else. But I'm at least aware of those flaws in myself enough to say, I can't do this right now, but we're gonna have this conversation. You know, we're gonna have to bring this back. We're gonna have to reevaluate. And a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable in that space and say that when they're wrong, when they need to evaluate, when they need to switch things up, when they need to get rid of the fucking kids. I don't have none, but let's be honest. Sometimes you need to get rid of the fucking kids.
Send them to grandmama's house.
Send them to grandmamas, send them to aunties.
Send them to
fuck them kids for a little while. They'll be all right. Focus on you and your relationship and your partner, and figure out what it is that makes y'all tick, what makes y'all happy, so that you can have a happy home for those children. Youth, adult, whatever stage that is. So, you know, this conversation goes so much further than just being kinky and wanting to play. And I mean, those things are important, like being able to fulfill your desires, being able to feel like you're not being judged in your desires, because we all have them. Like, if you go look at porn searches, if you go look at top 20 fetishes, like, everybody wants a lot of the same shit. So when you break it down, which ones do you like, which ones do you don't like, which ones are your fears, once you get past that point, now you've got a conversation that you can have about what could be fun for you, how could you reopen up this fun, this play, and don't take yourself so seriously. Like, we all like jumping on trampolines. You know what I'm saying? We all want to go to a party and dance our hearts out, and you know, maybe you have a fear of dancing because you fear being judged, but we all want to just, you know, have these same wild experiences that you see in movies, that you see in TV, and that, you know, you desire and you crave. So be more open to it, be more upfront about it, and make a safe space for the people that you care about.
Dropping jewels, that's what I'm talking about. I'm digging it. Thank you. I think that in addition to the card game, you drop additional knowledge that people can definitely benefit from. I think, you know, for the couples out there watching, I just have to add, you know, this is just my own personal opinion. I think that it is certainly sad when you have couples out there that really, they don't know what each other's fantasies are, or, you know, they don't have these type of conversations or this insight.
I can't blame the couples. I have to blame society. Like, society as we know it has never taught us consent, has never taught us autonomy, has never taught us what healthy relationships look like. Not just our romantic relationships, but our interpersonal relationships with our siblings, with our friends. We don't understand as a culture how to have healthy relationships. And we perpetuate that because we consistently look for drama. We look for the problems in things. We don't look for the solutions in things. So we as a society have to be better about nurturing what is a healthy relationship, what are healthy boundaries, what are healthy ways to communicate and talk with each other. And we'll see that just starting with that foundation young in people, how much that would just change the environment that we live in, the culture that we live in, the world that we live in. So, preach that and send that in your Bible, in your pew, in your wherever you go. Like, take that shit with you and digest it and feed it to the next person.
Ta-da. Okay, I'm with it. Brother Sky, before we, end things, for the people out there who are watching, the subscribers, the viewers, people on Facebook, people on Instagram, and everybody who is going to migrate to this video, if they want to get in contact with you and purchase the cards, how can they do so? Do you have a website? Do you have social media? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. I've got a website. It's called respectfulplay.com. That's where you can buy the game. I'm also have a Etsy store. If you go to Hedonism and Debauchery, it should come up. I also sell like large scale prints and decor. I'm a yoga instructor, things of that nature. So you can check out some of my work at Art of Skywind. If you go to my Instagram, I'll send you the LinkTree. My LinkTree will have all the links. It'll have this interview. It'll have everything that you need in it. You can catch me at Sex Down South every year because I've been there every year. I'll also be launching a Patreon. I have a show that I'm doing called Love Thy Body, based off of my first workshop that I'll be doing at Sex Down South. I'll do it in other spaces as well. But the Love Thy Body podcast is just here to help conversations move forward. The Patreon will have some really interesting, some erotic content, some tutorials, some nude interviews. I have all kinds of things on there that you're gonna love, you're gonna be interested in. So check that out and subscribe. And I'm here. Reach out.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody out there, make sure you subscribe, follow this brother, follow his content. You will not be disappointed. Everybody, once again, this is Ringside's Corner Confessions, and the links he mentioned, we're going to put those in the description. So all you got to do is just look in the description, just click on the links, and it will take you straight to him and his products and his podcast and everything. So we try to make it easy for everybody, so don't worry. But thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Brother Sky, for gracing the ring with everything. And everybody, we will see you next time. This has been Ringside's Corner Confessions, and we are out.
Bing, 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 bing. That is a knocker.